Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Retro Radio, episode 631, coming to you on Wednesday, November 5th. Looking forward to USC's Friday night kickoff, 6 p.m. against the Northwestern Wildcats at the Coliseum. We're going to preview it, give you our predictions, and so much more. As always, you can follow us on social media. Email address, rantroyfansite.com, and our phone number, 818-643-7227.
Suck at What's Brewing Show.
Did I miss it that time?
What? I don't understand what just happened.
And our phone number, 818-643-7227. Suck at What's Brewing Show. There we go. This episode powered by Fansided. I'm your host, Mike Castillo, joined along with my co-host here in the Rant Line studio in Los Angeles, Elisa Dertola.
Hello, everybody.
Hello! We're back a few minutes late. A lot of stuff going on, which I think leads us into a segment in which we're just going to talk about some podcast news really quick. A lot of stuff coming your way. A lot of stuff a little bit different coming your way slightly, somewhat. Let's pull it up on the screen here. We have the upcoming schedule for Raina Troy stuff here on YouTube. The watch along will go as planned on Friday nights. Join us 6 p.m. Pacific on YouTube. Game time. Watch the game along with us. After the game, of course, the CarCast. However, there will be no Fallout episode. Just like with Nebraska, the Fallout episode was delayed. This upcoming Fallout episode, there will be no Fallout episode. However, there will be an Iowa preview, albeit a pre-recorded one, which will drop next Wednesday, per usual, at 4 p.m. Pacific. Although, since it's pre-recorded, if anything weird happens, it might the podcast might get a little weird.
We will have no control over that.
Yeah, maybe we should just predict things that could happen in the time in which the show airs from when we record it.
I mean, we could always blame Meta.
Why Meta?
Because Meta owns Google, which owns YouTube.
Meta doesn't own Google.
Meta owns Facebook. Shoot. Who owns Google? No, Google owns... Okay.
Google owns YouTube.
We can always blame Google.
Sure. Anyways, next week, the Iowa preview, normal time, Wednesday, 4 p.m., although it won't be a live show, it'll be pre-recorded. And then the Iowa CarCast next week will be after the Iowa game, but not immediately after the Iowa game. It'll be late night because we will be on a slight delay. The TLDR, we're going to the DR. We're going out of the country this week. Hence the funny little schedule mishaps coming your way. But everybody's getting everything with the exception of the Fallout episode for Northwestern. So Iowa CarCast will just be a little bit later. Iowa Fallout, Oregon preview, Oregon watch along, all that stuff on schedule per usual. So there you go. Am I missing anything there?
I believe that's everything. Unless you wanted to continue out the schedule and add the Oregon CarCast after the Oregon watch along.
Yeah. And then the Big Ten championship game watch along.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. The other show news we wanted to get to was about our Discord for our members here on YouTube. The Discord, I did some troubleshooting because we got reached out to about access to the Discord not working right. Turns out our wires were crossed, and we didn't realize it. So we think we fixed everything. So if you are a member on YouTube at the Discord membership, you should be able to connect to Discord now. If you aren't connected in Discord, you want to go to your user settings, connections, then YouTube. They'll give you an invite and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
And if you didn't know that we had a Discord, we do have a Discord for our YouTube members. It's a fun place over there. There's a lot of really good Trojan fans talking about USC and what's going on with the program.
And people not liking our baseball segment.
Yeah, we did get a comment.
It was in jest.
It's the new stop
Kyle.
talking about soccer thing.
Yes.
Stop talking about baseball.
Yeah.
We had a discussion. I don't think a debate, just like a discussion about Ed Orgeron and whether or not he was done dirty today.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're always chatting things up, and it's pretty lively during games as well in there. So
Yeah. Yeah, so you can join us over on Discord if you want to be a YouTube member as well. So, all right, let's get to the real news, shall we? All right. We talked about this briefly yesterday when it came out live during our episode, but SC is 19th in the first college football playoff rankings, Michigan 21st, Iowa, USC's opponent next week, is 20th, Notre Dame, who USC lost to, is 10th, and Oregon, who SC plays in 2 weeks, is 9th. So the way I'm looking at this, and correct me if I'm wrong, if SC beats Iowa and beats Oregon, they have a chance to go 3-1 against teams that are ranked in the college football rankings. Albeit, if they beat Iowa, Iowa will probably fall out, but you get my drift.
yeah, I mean USC's schedule certainly was not easy, and it has not been easy and is not easy, and there's some really good teams on there, which is why I'm very frustrated that USC let that Notre Dame game get away from them, because that was there for the taking. Mm-hmm. But what can you do?
Yeah, and SC can sort of make up for everything by beating Oregon in a couple weeks, and beating Iowa next week, and beating Northwestern this week, and UCLA a few weeks from now, and just take care of their own business. It's all there. I'm not going to use the UB phrase, but there is B that's you.
The UB phrase.
I'm not. I can't say it. I can't speak it into existence.
Oh,
like it was spoken into
yeah. Don't say that
13
word. Don't
years
say those
ago.
words. Yes.
Yeah. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. All right. Other notes. Injury update. Alani Noah has a concussion. He left the Nebraska game.
Yeah, he left the Nebraska game with a concussion. I haven't seen anything specific about his availability, but I do have a tweet here from Shotgun Spratling, who said USC has used 12 different offensive line combinations this season, including 5 different offensive line starting lineups, and the Trojans could be in line for a 6th on Friday after Alani Noah left the game with an apparent concussion. So whether or not Alani Noah is going to play or not is up in the air. If he doesn't play, then it will be Kalon Miller, presumably stepping in to start for him the way that he took over for him during the game against Nebraska. So, that'll be something to watch. But at the very least, Kalon Miller did a hell of a job when he came in. So I'm not stressing it too much.
Yeah, we'll see how Kalon Miller can do. Miller and Miller, the law firm of the Miller twins, probably getting the start on Saturday or Friday night against Northwestern. So yeah, take your pick on how you feel which Miller will succeed more. And of course, you can also make picks over at Underdog Fantasy. Fantasy football is getting into the crux of it, and daily fantasy, especially because it's November. This is when seasons are won, and this is when you can do some winning by making your picks and using your ball knowledge to pick whether a player will go higher or lower than their stat projections. I love Underdog. Millions of fans are over and playing Underdog, their daily fantasy app. I, this week, am going lower on 9.5 Geno Smith rushing yards, and higher, 70.5 J.K. Dobbins rushing yards as well. Both of those are on Thursday night. So check us out over on Underdog Fantasy. Join me. Download the app today. Sign up and use promo code RAINOFTROY to score $100 in bonus entries when you use your first $5. That's promo code RAINOFTROY. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. Present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play play, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY, which is 467-369. Alicia, let's get to it. USC, Northwestern, locking horns at the Coliseum Friday nights. 6
We'll
p.m.
get it right sometime.
Yeah, Friday. 6 p.m. on Big Fox. The Wildcats 5-3, 3-2 in conference in the third season of the David Braun era in Evanston. First time USC and Northwestern will meet on the gridiron since 1996. Do you remember where you were in 1996, where you watched that game?
I did not watch that game, I presume.
No, I was at my grandma's house. I remember...
That game might have been on the TV in my house. I doubt I would have sat down to watch it.
I remember I stepped away for part of the fourth quarter because I was so excited I wanted to play football in the driveway. Yeah, because Keyshawn was going nuts, so I had to, do my part too.
That's kids.
Yeah. Yep. SC won that game 41-32. Darnell Autry, the the Northwestern running back at the time. They had some linebacker. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, named Pat Fitzgerald, two-time All-American. Gary Barnett was the head coach. Gary Barnett, of course, the eventual beat Colorado 40-3 in 2002. So here we go. SC and Northwestern. Lincoln Riley and David Braun. The Wildcats mentioned 5-3, 59th in FEI. This is an interesting team because going into the season, we talked about the Big Ten with our friends over at the West Bruin Show. I basically said, I have nothing on Northwestern. I don't expect anything from them. I have nothing until proven otherwise. At least I think I've been proven otherwise. I think they've been relatively solid. They went out. They beat UCLA. They put in the final dagger in their 0-4 starts. They beat Penn State on the road. The final dagger in James Franklin. And they're a team that plays everybody tough. They played Nebraska tough a couple of weeks ago. Not exactly pretty football. They're very Big Ten-y. 71st in offense and FEI, 45th in defense. Jeff Sagarin as a team has them 56th. But they're a pain in the ass to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, this Northwestern team is not rolled over and died. Even Oregon, who beat them pretty handily and jumped out to a pretty big early win, it felt like they found it hard to really put their foot on the gas and just like roll away with it the way that they've done to some other teams. Yeah. And I think it's noteworthy that of the 3 losses that they have, 2 of them were on the road. One of them was against Oregon. And this is a team that's generally, I think outkicked its coverage. Outperformed its coverage. I'm mixing metaphors. They've outperformed our expectations for sure.
Sure.
In terms of where they are at this stage, they are a perfectly middling Big Ten team of the. It almost feels like they've taken like Wisconsin's place.
I could see that
in that sort of like middle tier, with Wisconsin and Penn State sort of plummeting down below.
I have a thought here. They are the smarter, less impressive version of Minnesota. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Of like they're going to do a lot of things right. They're not going to scare you on paper, but they're going to be a pain in the ass to play. And if you don't take them seriously, they will beat you. Right?
Yeah, Northwestern's a team that can get you got, and they got Penn State, but a lot of teams have gotten Penn State, but they're still a team that clearly has a pulse. Nebraska needed every inch of their talent in order to beat Northwestern before playing USC. Yeah. Northwestern was very, very in that game. They were very annoying to play from Nebraska's perspective. So they're a tough team, and I think that David Braun at this point in his career 17 and 16 in with the Wildcats so far. He's doing something there. I think that every year Northwestern gets a little bit better. They are still sort of handcuffed by the Northwestern of it all, but
Sure.
David Braun has proven himself to be a pretty capable head coach at this point. And this is definitely a Northwestern team that, while you would almost expect them to be the bottom feeder alongside Purdue, they continue to show that they are far from sort of bottom feeding place in this conference, and thus you have to take them seriously. Even this isn't like getting Rutgers on a Friday night last year.
Yeah.
Not saying that USC shouldn't expect to go in here.
That
and
Rutgers
win this
team
game.
was a pain in the ass too.
Yeah, but also it was sort of the Friday night kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think this Northwestern team is probably more, more capable maybe of giving USC maybe a hard time. The real question mark is they haven't gone west. Let me look at what they did last year. Did they play? They played Washington last year and lost 24-5. Classic Washington score. But yeah, they really we don't have a good sense of what they look like coming west. So that's obviously going to be a factor in most Big Ten games, and certainly ones that USC hosts.
Yeah, you mentioned the Rutgers game last year. The Rutgers game last year, we all thought that would be a game in which heavily benefited SC because it was an 11 p.m. game on a short week, 11 p.m. local time for them, on East Coast time, on a short week coming all the way across the country. This has a lot of those elements, absolutely, right? The difference being it's 6 p.m. and it's Central Time. So they save 3 hours that way. It's going to be an 8 p.m. local kick on a Friday night on a short week. But they had the bye last week, right?
Yeah, they're coming off a bye.
Yeah.
That's the other factor.
So that
here
helps
is
them out there
USC
too.
is on a short week, having traveled the week before, getting this game on a Friday against a team that was on a bye before, against a team that is certainly not a pushover, that has played teams tough and is looking for a signature win.
Yeah.
After, Penn State's their signature win, but you know what I mean. Like they're headhunting a little bit. So
yeah, let's talk about their offense. Led by Preston Stone, the SMU transfer at quarterback. He's not been great this year.
No.
You're not tuning in to Northwestern games to watch him spin the bean. 171 yards per game through the air. He's only completing 58% of his passes. A touchdown to interceptions ratio of 10-9 with a quarterback rating of a $118.7.
He's pretty firmly the worst quarterback in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
PFF has his grade at 59.8, which is pretty horrific.
Yeah. And you look at the pass offenses in the country, and they're up there. 118th in passer rating, 116th in passing yards. This is a team that likes to run the football. The rushing offense is rather decent, 29th nationally. They're averaging 188 yards per game. Only 10 touchdowns on the ground. I think they could, get into the end zone more. Part of that is that they struggle in the red zone. But their players at the skill positions, I think, are absolutely guys to keep an eye on. Caleb Komalafe at running back, redshirt sophomore, 608 yards, averaging 4.9 yards per carry. Keep an eye on him. At wide receiver, there's Griffin Wild. PFF grade so far this year of 82.5, the highest starter for the Wildcats. 570 receiving yards, 4 touchdowns. He's going to be their primary target. He's the guy that you're going to want to sort of keep an eye on, the danger man on the outside.
DeCarlos Nicholson will be on him. This will be a really interesting matchup for him, considering that I think DeCarlos Nicholson is settled down a little bit from where all the corners were at the start of the season, and it's very clearly now DeCarlos Nicholson and Marcellus Williams who are, the starting corners and getting the majority of snaps, and that seems to have settled both of them down, I think. But this will be a test, because Griffin Wild is certainly capable of creating opportunities to catch the ball in an offense that doesn't really have a lot of success throwing the ball. But it's not because their wide receivers aren't capable. It's because they don't necessarily have a great arm throwing the ball, and their offense in general is just kind of so-so.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, this is the hallmark example of what you think of as a Big Ten team stereotypically, right? Like, don't allow a lot of negative plays. 12th in tackles for loss allowed, so they're not going to be creating a lot of negative plays. Not going to be subjected to a lot of negative plays. They dominate time of possession. They're at over 33 minutes of possession per game, which is 6th in the country. Low and slow, running the football. They're going to make you cross your T's, dot your I's, all of those things. And I think considering that SC struggles at times with things like penalties, things like taking advantage of situations, this absolutely, could be a worrisome matchup in that sense. Mr. P in the chat says it feels like a trap game. I'm curious your thoughts on that, because Iowa, Oregon, and UCLA loom. Is there a trap element to it? Coming off of the road win at Nebraska on a short week, you're back at home. It's on Friday night. Things are a little bit weird that way. You've got a big homecoming game coming up. Is there a trap game element to this, especially for SC's defense coming off of a game in which they played relatively well in the second half against a team that was somewhat similar in profile in the second half, Nebraska, in a team that had no passing threat and was only going to be able to run the ball on you in the second half? That's basically what Northwestern's going to be here. Is there a chance you could overlook them if you're the Trojans on defense?
Well, you could always overlook any team, and USC's defense should certainly not be overlooking anybody, given what they've given up against even middling offenses this year. So they're certainly not in a position to think like, oh, we're fine going into this. I do think that the Nebraska game is a good sort of test case for what this defense can achieve against an offense like this. I think if you want to treat the Nebraska game as like a confidence boost, as sort of a proof of concept, then this is the perfect team to get after that. Like you said, they're basically Nebraska light.
Raiola injury.
Yeah, they are Nebraska's offense with a slightly less impressive rushing offense, and with a significantly worse quarterback. So like without Dylan Raiola.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a game that USC should come into and say, well, we proved we can stop Nebraska with a similar offense. The game plan to stop Nebraska in the second half, at least, did the trick, and you can sort of copy paste a little bit and try to replicate it.
Yeah.
They don't. It's hard because it's hard to figure out exactly where they will threaten USC in the sense of they don't have a lot of explosive plays. They don't really drive all that well.
Sure.
They get into the red zone rarely, and when they do get into the red zone, they rarely leave with a touchdown. So this is not an impressive offense. So in that sense, like the areas where USC might be vulnerable is simply the areas that USC, we've seen them be vulnerable in the most frustrating kinds of ways, is like they can't stop the run, and then they let Northwestern be uncharacteristically successful at getting down the field and getting into the end zone, simply because USC can't stop the run, and because the one-on-one battles in the passing game, USC starts to lose them. So it's like there's no specific danger area. There's just like the if you're bad.
Yeah, like if you are not ready to play, if you buy into the trap game thing and all that stuff. I will say, defensively for the Trojans, I think this is a fantastic matchup, and strictly because every time you see SC line up against a team that trends more towards one-dimensionality, SC tends to succeed more often than not under Danton Lynn. Look at last year, games at home against Wisconsin and Rutgers. they succeeded in those games. Kyle Monangai had his moments last year against Rutgers. I think Monangai is better than any skill position player that Northwestern has on this year's offense. But like, I think it's just a similar type of team, especially with Kaliak Manis as being sort of like Preston Stone, a very veteran quarterback who's been around.
Yeah, but Kaliak Manis has proven to be a significantly better quarterback than anything we've seen from Preston Stone at any point. So,
but Kaliak Manis was like widely considered the worst quarterback in the Big Ten for a while, though.
Right, but
I'm just saying, like they're on. It's a very similar kind of thing, and that was a game in which, when SC started to dot their I's and cross their T's, they separated. They won the game.
Yes,
and this to me is one of those matchups where like you have a talent advantage. You should have a talent advantage at literally every position on the field. I do think that there's going to be issues on SC's offensive side of the ball against Northwestern's defense, because let's talk about Northwestern's defense. They're a solid defense. We know that defense travels. 13th nationally in scoring. They're holding teams to under 17 points per game. 19th in total defense, 304 yards per game. First downs, they're holding teams pretty well. They're 14th nationally in first down defense. I think when you put it all together, there are some worrying signs for SC's offense given the last 2 weeks. SC has played 8 games. The first 6 games, mega on offense, all 6 weeks. The bad game for SC was Purdue, a game in which they had at least a field goal attempt on every single drive. So when you look at what SC has done the last 2 weeks, they've sort of gotten got, right? Like Leonard Moore shut down Makai Lemon 2 weeks ago. They were still able to move the ball. A lack of moving the ball was not the reason that they lost to Notre Dame, but they didn't have the ease of moving the ball that they did against Illinois, for instance, in which they moved the ball up and down the field with relative ease, save for a couple of drives, right? And with Nebraska, we saw SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl, Jade Mayava, and that is a disaster. If you get the first 3 quarters of SRS Distribution Las Vegas Bowl Mayava, right? So if that continues, if there is a book out in the Big Ten on this is how you shut down this USC offense with Mayava at quarterback and without their top 2 running backs and an offensive line that is down a couple of guys, potentially down 3 starters, like absolutely there could be, on a short week, there's a million different reasons why this could be one of those funky weeks for the offense again. I do wonder if it helps that they were funky last week. Is that the wake-up call?
Well, you got to hope it's the wake-up call for Mayava.
Right. Does that help deter from the trap side of it on offense?
Yeah, maybe. And certainly coming home helps that element. Mayava being so for this season uncharacteristically shaky in the past 2 games. They've been on the road, so you can sort of account for that. Yeah. You would expect him to come back home and be more accurate and make better decisions and be able to lead the offense better. I guess you do have the concern now that Northwestern's pass defense is their strength. They're good in terms of defending the pass. Mm-hmm. Almost as like a collective. Like there's no one standout DB that's there, and they don't really they're not like getting into the backfield and making life difficult for the quarterback either. So that doesn't account for the strength of their passing defense. They rank 30th nationally in pass efficiency defense. So they allow a quarterback rating of 118, which is pretty damn good. And it's interesting because like they seem to be greater than the sum of their parts if you look at the individuals that are out. Davis, the has 6 pass breakups this season. But he's not particularly highly rated in PFF at 67.0.
Do we know?
I don't think so.
I don't think so, right?
I feel like that would be a much bigger storyline. But I will admit I didn't check it. I'm looking at
his bio, and it's not in there.
It would say it in his bio, absolutely.
Yes. The age checks out.
Yes, but it would say it in his bio.
The age absolutely checks out.
There's no way they would neglect to mention, unless he doesn't have a good relationship with,
But that stuff still gets mentioned. We heard it all the time with Zach Banner and whatnot.
Yes, yeah. So, I don't know. Either way, Fred Davis, is their top corner. Jorge Adaye, questionable with an injury. He's their second corner.
Io's brother.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool. And then their safety, Robert Fitzgerald is having a pretty good year at 72.6 PFF rating. I think he leads the team in tackles, which is not always a good sign for the overall defense. But I think the secondary, like, there's no one player in particular that stands out. They just they seem to do a pretty good job playing against passing teams. It is notable, I think, that they have their middle linebacker is 6th nationally in interceptions. He has 4 interceptions this year. Mm-hmm. So the linebackers are doing their part in terms of
Matt Grudigood-esque.
Yes, that's Mac HOPEline. Is it that simple? Maybe is his name.
So
yeah. So yeah, I just think that the scheme seems to be working for them in terms of pass defense. And so is this another situation where USC's receivers, who have had a rough time of it recently, are going to find it hard to get open? And is that going to get into Jaden Mayava's head? That's, if I can pinpoint one area for USC going into this game, for USC's offense going into this game, and thinking that, like, if the offense has lost confidence in their passing offense, if the receivers are sort of shaken or been found out or whatever, and Mayava no longer feels comfortable because his receivers aren't getting open, then that could sort of spiral, I suppose. But then again, last week we talked about the question of, did USC commit to the run? I would have commit to the run more, but I will certainly say they didn't abandon the run at any point. They were willing to hand the ball off. And that's a point for this Northwestern defense where they are vulnerable, like Nebraska was, where you would expect USC to be able to go out there, even with Alani Noah injured. You would expect USC to be able to go out there and find some ground, find some yards and stability on the ground. So it's a matchup where I sort of can imagine and envision where things could go wrong, but it's also like it's certainly not something that feels super realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you. This, just in so many different areas, this is a game in which Bessie does their job, takes care of their own business. They should be fine. I think it helps like Illiam in the chat says it'd be interesting to see if the offense is just struggling or we just played really bad on the road, because I feel like either is possible. 100%. Especially when you look at SC's performances on the turf at the Coliseum against Big Ten teams. Their only losses the last 2 seasons at home are against teams that were highly ranked, top 5 teams, Penn State and Notre Dame, 2 teams that they took to the wire, that they were in the game with to the end or in overtime with in terms of Penn State. The games in which they had talent advantages, in which teams were somewhat limited in various areas, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Nebraska last year, Michigan State this year, SC won those games. So this is in line with one of those games. So as long as you continue to do your thing, the trend is that SC wins these games at home. And they do enough on offense and they do enough on defense. And even if it's not the prettiest game you've ever seen, like the Rutgers game last year, for example, or the Michigan State game this year.
Yeah.
SC truly has not been threatened in those games, save for maybe the Nebraska game last year. And I think that's comforting to know that the home road splits benefit SC in a game like this. Because if this game was on the road,
we'd be talking about upset special big time if this game was on the road. Absolutely.
It is absolutely terrifying for the Trojans on the road.
Yes. But back at home, it sort of takes some of that the sharpness away in terms of that anxiety.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the last two performances for Maiyava have come not just on the road, but in tough weather. I think Notre Dame game was obviously rainy and rough weather. Northwestern was cold. I believe the forecast was 45.
Nebraska.
Sorry, yeah, Nebraska was 45. Now this game will be kicking off under the lights, and I'm not saying that California cold is anywhere close to, Nebraska cold, but
I will take it to my grave that California cold.
It's different because we don't have
underrated.
The California cold is very underrated because we don't own the proper.
I got the comparison.
Clothing for dealing with cold.
California cold is similar to Pacific Northwest heat or British heat.
Yeah, British heat is a good example. Yeah, where it's it doesn't 90 degrees.
On paper, it looks. You look like an absolute weirdo for thinking that 82 is a heat wave.
Is scorching, yeah.
Yes. But then you realize that none of those buildings are built for that weather. And then here, when you add in the wind from the
chill,
the ocean,
the coastal chill,
all those
is certainly something. But again, I'm not saying that it's comparable.
Yeah.
It will be warmer than it was in Nebraska, but it won't exactly be
Hey, we've always said the coldest game we've ever been at in our lives
was freaking San Diego.
San Diego. Well, isn't there that
the coldest winter I ever had was a summer in San Francisco. That's
yes,
Mark Twain.
Yeah. Which is that's some
because
legit
it's
stuff.
Summer and you don't think to yourself, I need warm clothes, and then you stand around in San Francisco and realize, why is this place so freaking cold? Yeah, that's exactly it. So all of this is to say that it will be a little chilly, but it certainly won't be 45 degrees. So hopefully that's helping him. And it will be, there's no rain or anything like that. There's no chance of precipitation. The wind should be pretty calm. According to AccuWeather. So, I think it's the conditions. In the chat
says, he's from Hawaii, so California's basically Siberia for him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. P says, and Las Vegas is all hot weather.
But okay, here's the thing about Vegas. Here's my
Vegas is extremely hot or cold.
Or freezing. No.
They have no spring and no fall.
Yes, but also I will maintain forever that one of the coldest weeks I've ever spent was in Austin, Texas, when my brother had a volleyball tournament at wherever it was in the convention center in Austin, and it was the middle of summer and it was hot as hell outside.
Oh, just
and then
inside?
We walked inside the convention center and spent 8 hours of the day inside the convention center, freezing our asses off. It was it's different. It's different. Those hot weather places, also like Arizona, they almost overcompensate the air conditioning.
Yeah. All right, let's get to over-under, shall we?
So you're going over.
I'm feeling bold, giving that over.
I'm going under. I got to take an under here. I got 3 unders to take.
I'm going to do an under here.
All right.
Chat, if if we're having audio issues, please let us know. One person mentioned it, but let's see if there's more people.
Yeah, and in the chat, since we hear every 10th word now, Lisa started talking, and she's also cutting out. It's not good. No bueno.
Nope.
We're not seeing anything on our end.
Yeah, so let us know.
If this is a me talking over Alicia issue, then fair enough, because I tend to do that. Absolutely. All right, let's go to over under first one. Over under 172 Northwestern passing yards. That's their average. $172.4 is their average, to be specific. SC held Notre Dame to 136. They held Nebraska to 98. Completely different situations. One of them was in the rain and in a game in which Notre Dame could just run it every freaking down. And the other one was a game in which Dylan Raiola got hurt early in the third quarter.
Yeah, and they stopped throwing the ball.
Yeah. So 172.5 over under.
I am going to go over. I don't have a lot of faith in Preston Stone, but I also don't have a lot of faith in USC's pass defense. And I do think that USC will probably come into this game with the mentality that they did against Michigan, which is to say that you do what you can to stop the run and hope that you force the quarterback to have to throw. And in doing so, I do think that the Northwestern will have, a few plays, I think, here and there. I think that USC's defense at this point, if they can play a clean game, I would love that. But realistically, we know what this defense is, and we know that it is more likely that they have a breakdown or two that results in, a chunk play than not. So I'll take that over.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm still going to lean under. I think that this is a game in which Northwestern plays a lot of ball control, which means fewer plays in the game overall. So give me the under there. Plus, they're going to want to run after seeing the film for the last 2 weeks that you can run on this SC defense. So I just think that's going to be their focus there. So under on Northwestern passing yards for me. Next one, over under 0.5 Preston Stone interceptions. Since throwing 4 against Tulane early on in the season, he's thrown 5 in 7 games. The last 2 games are his first with back-to-back interceptions. He threw 2 against Nebraska, 1 against Purdue the week before that. Meanwhile, by the way, side note, Jade Mayava 4 straight games with an interception.
Yeah, after starting the season with 4 games without an interception.
Yeah, but Preston Stone 0.5 interceptions. What do you got?
I just shared the over/under link, and wow, that's a long and unsatisfying link. Sorry. Yeah, I'm kind of torn here. Like, I think that USC's defense has been pretty opportunistic. We know that Bishop Fitzgerald has come through with his interceptions. You know that, like, Eric Gentry is always a possibility of sniping one. I don't necessarily like predicting like turnovers to happen, like they're a guarantee or something like that. But I do think that USC will look to unsettle Preston Stone just a little bit. So yeah, I'll take that over.
Yeah, I'll take the over too. I Bishop Fitzgerald absolutely due for another pick, right?
Yeah, or any of the corners. Like it's.
Where my hesitation here is, I just don't expect a lot of passing game opportunities.
Yeah, there won't be a lot of attempts.
From Northwestern, and I hate 0.5s just because they're so stressful in that sense. But I am going to take the over. I think 1 is fair. 1 is fair. Mr. P in the chat says, were there any Friday games last year? Yeah, Rutgers. Rutgers was the Friday game last year. Let's go to the next one. 62.5 Jaden Mayava completion percentage. He was at 39.1 against Nebraska. Yikes! That's his career low. His previous career low was 51.7. In 2 games he had for UNLV. His previous low with SC was 52.4 against Notre Dame. He would have been lower than that in the SRS distribution Las Vegas Bowl, but he was like really good in the fourth quarter, and that raised his percentage.
The last 3 games last year with him, he was completing sort of in the range of 54% of his passes. Yeah, which is why we talked about him the way that we did coming into this season. He's. I think we shouldn't stop talking about how much of a more stable quarterback he's been. These last 2 performances have sort of shaken that perception of him. But it's entirely possible, as we talked about, that had a lot to do with being on the road, that had a lot to do with weather. Mm-hmm. So this is his opportunity to sort of show us that, no, the Jaden Mayava over the last 2 weeks was the aberration, that the Jaden Mayava that we saw the first 4 weeks is closer to the reality for him. 39% is horrific.
Not good.
I would hope that USC, if nothing else, goes into this game with the express plan of rebuilding his confidence, with setting up some easy completions for him, with doing more to adjust to a reality where maybe your receivers are double covered or taking other options here or there. So I'm going to take the over here because I think USC will focus on that a little bit. Yeah. But I will say, like, Northwestern has done a good job of making it difficult for quarterbacks to complete their passes. So, it's certainly not a given that Maeva will be above 60% if he continues to target receivers that are double covered and or miss as badly as he has over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, for their opponents, they held to under 60, including Purdue, who is a team that we've seen likes to throw the ball around. So Maeva's season average is 65.3, which would be the over, but I'm going to take the under. I need to see one more game of him bouncing back in order for me to ride with an over like this. So I'll take the under there. Let's go to the next one. King Miller, 17.5 carries. King Miller carries. This is weird, but he's had exactly 18 carries in each of the last 3 games. 18 for 158 yards against Michigan, 18 for 70 yards against Notre Dame, 18 for $129 against Nebraska. Here we go. 17.5. Does he get to 18 yet again?
I just saw that and thought, well, that's funny. That's silly. I would love for this to be a situation where USC hands him the ball 20 times.
Sure.
I would also love it for it to be not that situation, because there's sort of a world in which King Miller gets like 15 carries and then the game's over and they're, having Harry Dalton or Brian Jackson sort of carry the load and he gets some much needed rest after the weeks that he's had. So I'm going to take the under in hope of that, but like King Miller has proven that he can be the guy for USC, and I would hope that they continue to use him like that.
Yeah, I'm going to take the over. I think that like he just seems like he's the 15 to 20 guy and leaning towards 18 because that's literally where he's been the last 3 weeks. So I'll take the over. There's not really that many options besides him right now, with Jackson being still sort of dinged up and playing not at 100%, and then Harry Dalton being a true freshman. So I'm taking the over there. Let's get to the next one, which is 17.5 again. Northwestern points. Northwestern is averaging 15.3 on the road. They're averaging 18.6 in Big Ten play. SC just allowed 17 to Nebraska last week. SC is averaging 19.3 points allowed at home. They held Michigan to 13. The FEI projection is 18, and the SP Plus projection is 17. So 17.5 split the difference between FEI and SP Plus.
Oh, I'm smashing this over. USC's defense can make a fool of me. I would be very happy for them to do so, but they have not earned my trust in the slightest. If we end up with another Michigan, then by all means that will be wonderful. But I'm not betting on that. I'm smashing this over until proven otherwise.
I'm taking the under. It's a Friday night. This is going to be an ugly game.
Yeah,
I'm taking the under. I think that in a perfect world, given SC's talent advantage, given that they're back home, given that they have the advantage of playing a team on a Friday night, even though Northwestern's coming off of a bye, they have a quarterback who was in the Heisman race. It's like no longer in the Heisman race, but has that ability. Like there's all these reasons here to hope that this is a game where SC gets right and wins a game 45-13 or something like that. I don't think that's going to be the case.
I mean,
all.
that's what this team needs, to be honest. We come into this game.
It would boost your spot on the rotometer for sure.
Oh, definitely, and it would boost. There's a sort of low key situation looking ahead where USC has Iowa and Oregon and UCLA to finish out the season, and this is their last quote-unquote easy matchup. If you struggle with Northwestern, and again, we can always give it's a Friday night after a road thing, blah, 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 blah. I just don't feel like giving that excuse at the moment, because it doesn't feel like it answers all of the other questions that have happened
Sure.
It can't be the excuse every time. Sometimes it just is what you are. If you struggle with Northwestern, we are talking about Iowa, especially if Iowa gives Oregon a game.
Because
and
Iowa is a better
Oregon.
Northwestern.
Much better Northwestern.
Yeah.
Yes. We're talking about Iowa as a worry. If we're talking about Iowa as a worry, we have to start talking about, we already are start talking about UCLA as a worry, and we already know what we feel about Oregon. So, I think we saw USC finish the season strong last year. Yes. And I think that USC needs to show that they can do that again, even if that means losing to Oregon. I think that the importance of going into this and not just beating Northwestern, like beating them handily. I don't want another Michigan State, like where you won handily, but it was sort of, that game didn't feel super satisfying. USC needs a satisfying win.
Yeah, and to get back on track here about this just being the over-under of Northwestern's points, like, I guess what I'm saying is, like, regardless of what SC does, I just think that this will be a low-scoring performance from Northwestern, because I just think this will be just an ugly Friday night game in which there's not a lot of points overall. I'd be taking the under on the total points. I'd be taking the under on SC's scores, like everything. I'm taking the under in that sense. But I agree with you. In a perfect situation, you get the over on the under on this, and you get the over on total points because SC flexes their muscles and all that kind of stuff. So I'm taking the under. You're taking the over on 17.5 Northwestern points. Okay. Let's go to the last one, which is 1.5 USC sacks. We keep having sacks on here, and SC is not had a lot of success there. Northwestern hasn't allowed a sack since October 11th against Penn State. 2 sacks the Nittany Lions had against the Wildcats. Purdue, 0. Nebraska, 0. ULM, 0. UCLA had 2. Oregon had 2. Tulane had 3 way back in week 1. SC's defense, 22 sacks, but only 1 each in 3 of their last 4 games. The Michigan game, they did have 3, albeit against a freshman quarterback who was kind of desperate at times.
Yeah, and who we sort of predicted might be kind of desperate at times. And, I will say Preston Stone is not a great quarterback, but he's certainly more veteran than Bryce Underwood, and he's shown the combined propensity for this offense, from the offensive line to the quarterback, is that they don't give up the sack, that they protect the down and distance, I suppose, in some sense. And, I think that we're looking at USC's pass rush, and I don't know about everyone else, but I'm still a little bit underwhelmed most of the time. I would just like to see more in general from that entire unit.
Sure. The
edges, the interior guys, the blitzing linebackers, all of that. I'd like to see more havoc created from USC. Guys, I'd like to see guys winning their one-on-one battles more often. USC having to scheme their way into pressure does not help the pass defense or anything else. So this is a test. This is an interesting one, because I do not think sacks they're certainly not given against this offense. So if you're able to break through for 2 or 3, like, that's a sign that you're winning some of those battles, that you're doing as individuals. You're getting the job done in a way that it feels like Illinois, Notre Dame, Nebraska. It just felt like, okay, they weren't really causing too many problems in the backfield.
Yeah, I want to buy into this. I want to be able to sit here and say that this is an over for me. I go back to my Alabama completion percentage. I think I need to be proven that it's where I should lean first. So I'm going to take the under.
Same.
I think that, if recent history says they'll get one.
Yeah.
Show me 3.
Even 2.
I just think that Northwestern's not going to throw the ball that much. So
yeah,
that's where I sort of lean that way. All right, let's get into game predictions. Of course, you can join us doing the over-under picks. Click the link that's in the show notes and the doobly-doo, all of that. And join us. Vegas spread has SC by 14. I feel about this the way I think I feel about the Notre Dame line, in the sense of like, that feels huge. Because the Notre Dame line was, 9.5, 10, whatever it was, 9.5. Feels huge. At the same time, if Notre Dame won that game comfortably, they were going to win by double digits, right? If SC wins this game wins this game like they theoretically should, they should be winning by 2 touchdowns. So that part makes sense. It's just a scary line at 14 points to me. The FEI projection is 36-18. I think SP Plus was 35-17. So it's all about sort of in the same spot. Where are you?
Yeah, I'm going USC 37, Northwestern 24.
Okay.
I'm having a USC not cover, but only just because, like you, 14 is just a lot. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that I trust USC's offense to play clean enough, long enough, and I don't trust USC's defense to play clean enough, long enough as well. But this is a game that USC should win. I'm open to the idea of like a ugly Friday night game on a short week. But this is still this is a game that USC has to be able to win relatively comfortably. Even if it's ugly, you still have to be able to win this game relatively comfortably if you want to sort of be aiming for the range that you are for this season. So,
I think survive and advance, given how SC has struggled on the road, absolutely is a viable way to look at road performances. Yes, there were a lot of frustrations in the Nebraska game, but at some point you got to just win one of those, and they did. And because of that, that's a pass on a pass fail, right? At home, I think their style points and that kind of thing do factor in here a little bit more because SC is more comfortable playing at home. They're more successful playing at home. They have more ability to play at home. All of this stuff should allow us to be more critical of what SC puts on the field at home. In a perfect situation, again, like I said earlier, this is a 45-13 win in which they flex their muscles. I just don't see that. I just see this as a typical sort of ugly-ish Big Ten game, especially with it being on a Friday night. 26-16 is where I'm at. SC does not cover, but they win 26-16. And then the question becomes, what is that 26-16? Is it a 26-16 where Northwestern scores on the last play of the game and it was 26-10 and SC had full control of the entire game and they didn't score a lot of touchdowns, but it was never in doubt kind of situation? Or is it a 26-16 in which SC leaves 1,000,000 points on the field and it feels like all the field goals they got could have been touchdowns and Northwestern just hangs around forever? I don't know. Could be either one of those. That's where I'm at, 26-16.
William says I could see USC win by double digits and still look kind of bad.
Well,
that's how this team does.
That could be the Purdue game, right?
Yeah.
The Purdue game, on paper, was never really in doubt.
Yes.
But the eye test, it got weird a little bit.
Yeah.
But they still won that game 33-17, right? Yeah. I could see a home version of that Purdue game, in which SC moves the ball relatively well, but struggles to get into the end zone. Northwestern has their moments, but at the same time, their limitations sort of prevent them from truly taking advantage of those. SC wins by double digits. It's a game where you wish you could have seen more, but at the same time, you're walking away thinking, yeah, but the game never truly was in doubt.
Yeah, if you're gonna lose ugly, lose ugly by
that's the good way to lose ugly.
Yeah, like lose ugly by multiple possessions.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's get to the mailbag, shall we? All right.
I am gonna cut in here and
what did we forget?
Ask my own mailbag question.
Oh,
You've got mail.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard, but Notre Dame and Auburn agreed to a home and home in 2027 and 2028. So I was taking a look at Notre Dame's future schedules and starting to get a little bit worried because their spots are filling up, and they're filling up pretty well. Like there's this argument that USC fans have that like Notre Dame needs USC more than USC needs Notre Dame because Notre Dame's schedule is weak. I would encourage anybody who thinks that Notre Dame's schedule is weak to look at their 2026, 2027, and 2028 schedules and beyond, because they are very aggressively scheduling.
Yeah.
They are aggressively scheduling Power 5 teams.
Well, the 2025 schedule,
with Miami and Texas A&M.
There's no cream puffs there.
And Arkansas, yeah. 2026.
2025, there's two teams that are not Power 4 teams on that schedule. And it's Boise State and Navy. And as far as like Group of 5 teams go, Boise State and Navy, probably two of the hardest you can possibly schedule.
Yes.
And one of those is a rivalry game in which they play every year in Navy anyways.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
Next year they get Wisconsin, Michigan State, North Carolina, Miami, SMU, Florida State, and Syracuse. The year after that they get, I'll just read the whole thing: Purdue, Michigan State, Auburn, Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, Virginia Tech, Clemson, Navy, and Duke. The year after that, they get Texas, Arkansas, Purdue, Auburn, Virginia Tech, Clemson, Navy, Boston College, Miami, and Pitt. The year after that, they get Bama, USF, Texas, NC State, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Wake Forest, Navy, Syracuse, Clemson. Like, all I'm saying is that this idea that USC has all the leverage with Notre Dame, I think is falling apart. And whether or not this is, Notre Dame now can continue to put the pressure on USC because they're 1 or 2 games away from completing these schedules.
Yeah.
Without USC, and if USC wants the season opener to be USC Notre Dame, like 2027 already has a season opener against Purdue scheduled. 2026 already has a season opener against Wisconsin scheduled. So now you're having to negotiate a week 0 game. This whole thing is just getting frustratingly funky, and we probably shouldn't lose sight of the fact that this feels like a game of chicken that I worry Notre Dame might not blink as easily as people think they will.
Yeah, I talked about this after the Notre Dame game, that I feel like I've been in denial about all of the stuff. Just haven't been thinking about it either. Like, because there were a lot of national stuff that was like, is this the last SC Notre Dame game?
Because there is not another game on the schedule.
Yeah, and like there were a lot of people just talking about like it's the last one, like as in it just was the last one, like with no anticipation that there would be anything scheduled further. My naive, like optimistic brain is like, oh well, they'll agree to at least a 1-year deal. Like, it's like the F1 when they were threatening to leave Spa, and we're like, oh they'll just do something. But like, you can think those to the end of time, and then, when pen needs to go to paper, you end up with an issue like this. 2027, for what it's worth, you mentioned that there's a week 1 game against Purdue. There's no middle of October home game.
There is not.
For Notre Dame, and no week 0. So, like, the opportunities for SC are still there.
Yes,
They're still there.
absolutely. The opportunities for USC are still there.
Also, Auburn, an SEC team, is not going to schedule a game against Notre Dame in the middle of September, in the middle of October, or the end of November. They're just not.
Auburn, the 2028 game is October 28th at Auburn.
This is one of those moments where I'm just proven wrong immediately. Fair enough.
I'm just saying.
That's sort of shocking to me because I feel like you never sort of see that from an SEC team, right?
Yeah.
The SEC teams will play the ACC at the end of their season, but those are just rivalry games.
Mm-hmm.
That's, South Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, Georgia Tech, like those kind of things. Yeah, it is rare to see an SEC team go sort of off camber that way.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. We'll see. Iggy in the chat says, I think the decision has been made to remove Notre Dame from our schedule, and it just hasn't been announced. I will say this. I don't think there will be a decision that is ever announced. It will just be a lack of a decision.
You think Notre Dame will fill their 12th game, and that will be our indication?
I think the most likely scenario is that things will just be filled. And it will be like, oh, the schedule is full. There is no room for anything else here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that's sort of how I see it going down. So, all right.
Well, it's gotta be resolved quickly because the Big Ten schedule.
Did it? It came out
last year.
January?
It came out in December. So
okay.
The clock is ticking. I mean, obviously they don't always do it at the same time every year, but
I just wonder if it's one of those things where the Big Ten just leaves that day out, leaves
the 2025 football
open.
schedule was announced on December 11th.
Okay.
So
it could be one of those things where SC just gets 2 October bye weeks again.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, next year's going to be at home anyways,
Yeah.
so it would matter of when the UCLA game is. Then it would be a question of would the Big Ten do the thing that the Pac-12 is, where they leave the last game of the season open. And so if the game gets scheduled, it slots in, and if it doesn't, well, SC just has no game on Thanksgiving weekend. I don't know if they'd want to do that. So, or if they just leave it open that way, and SC fills that game with Sacramento State playing their first FBS game or whatever BS. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yep.
All right, we got a bunch of comments on our last episode, mostly about the things we went unhinged on, talking about completely off-topic stuff like baseball. Cameron says, hearing you cry about the Dodgers, oh my God, chef's kiss, love it. That's fair. We're absolutely haters. Absolutely. There was another comment. Oh, here it goes from John that says, in a world in which Michael's food takes exist, his 2020 World Series take is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. If the Cubs had won in 2020, he would be wearing a Cubs World Series 2020 champs t-shirt to bed every night. The hypocrisy is overwhelming. First of all, right here is the 2016 World Series champions sweatshirt. But there's two answers to this. One, it's not ridiculous in the sense that, like, this is not an unpopular opinion. If anything, this is the popular opinion on the 2020 World Series.
Yeah, because most baseball fans are not Dodger fans. There's a lot of Dodger fans, but like they are in the minority if all of the other baseball fan bases combine. It's the same reason why everyone agrees on
the 2020 college football season not meaning anything.
No, unlike, everyone united in their hate of the Astros, and it's what brings everyone. Hate brings fans together.
The other thing about the hypocrisy, that's sports, right? Like, and this is always.
That's all I want you to do. I just want you to acknowledge that this is pure haterade.
I have never not acknowledged. No.
That if you were a Dodgers fan, you would count
Back
that
it up.
as a World Series.
Beep. Two things are different. Kenny in the chat says, I would claim that World Series if my team won.
Exactly. Yes.
Yes.
Just acknowledge that.
But
and
me not doing it is not haterade.
It's haterade, Michael.
No, it's not.
It's haterade.
No, it's not.
It's haterade.
The hypocrisy would be if it's your team, you ignore it. It's not a hypocrisy strictly based on hate or not. Like, the hypocrisy is that if it's your team, you don't care. Either you don't care or you ignore that thing. Like,
if it's your team, it's a valid championship. And
it's
if
the
it's
Carabao
not,
Cup.
It's yes, exactly. Cup. It matters if you win it.
It matters if you win it. If you didn't, well, then it didn't mean anything.
Everyone just talks about how useless it is.
Yes.
But, yeah.
Yes.
We are not getting into another 20-minute debate about this.
I know, but I'm just saying.
When we still have mailbag stuff that's actually
Kenny
about
is
USC.
right. I would claim that World Series if my team won, yes. But B, everyone else would be right to call it fake. I agree.
Okay, yeah.
I thoroughly agree with that.
Yeah.
Thoroughly agree. All right. There was another comment that we got. The win against Nebraska is a great road win for the team, but it means nothing if you don't win out. Yeah, this is one of those things. If you win out, you look back at the Nebraska game and you say you're watching the end of season, watching the national championship Bluetooth, and you're like, wow, the medal that we showed on that night in Lincoln in the blackout, like, oh my God, Mayava didn't have it, but we fought, we did all those things. Absolutely, that becomes the story.
Mm-hmm. But it only becomes the story if you pay it off.
Yeah,
by winning.
You have to pay it off.
You can't flub it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I take back all the nice things I said about the Dodgers, by the way, because I just saw a tweet from Arash Markazi that the Dodgers are favored to land Bo Bichette and also in the mix for Kyle Tucker and Alex Bregman, and it's like, can y'all just stop? Stop it. We got a question.
Bleach.
We got a question in the chat from Iggy. Said, question, do you think the bye week had anything to do with the offensive struggles? For me, the offense sputtered due to Mayava's struggles. Anyway, you could miss throws. He did it. I don't think the bye week had anything to do with it. I think being on the road had something to do with it. And I think Nebraska's the quality of Nebraska's DBs had a lot to do with it, because it was very clear that he was making bad decisions to throw into double coverage, and then he got in his head and just started winging it.
If we're putting percentage points on everything, right? Like, I think that 45% of it is because it was tough road game in general. 45% of it is because it was a Nebraska defense that played really well, had a great game plan, and is really good against the pass. Maybe 25% is because Mayava is always susceptible to this. 20% is because it was on the road. 45% is because of Nebraska. Nebraska's pass defense is good game plan, good execution, all of that stuff. And then the remaining 10% are just a bunch of varied things. It was a blackout. It was a night game. It was after the bye. Like, that stuff is so negligible that it doesn't actually. I don't think that those things weren't a factor. They just weren't a factor enough to undercut the other factors. You know what I mean? Which is, A, SC struggles on the road. B, Mayava's always has this in his bag potentially. He has done a really good job of not showing it, not bringing this out. And C, Nebraska's pass defense is just good. All those three things.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the main things. There's other reasons, but they don't undercut those main three reasons, I would say.
Yeah.
So, all right. Elliam in the chat says, if he lays an egg at home, does Riley move on?
From Mayava, I think is what he was referring to.
Yeah. I can't see it at this point.
Can't see it unless it's so bad that he has to pull him.
Yeah.
During the game.
I think the time to do it would have been after the Notre Dame game, but there wasn't enough reason to do it, because the time to do it was a bye week situation, especially not on a short week going into Northwestern, not coming out either. And I think that Riley would end up taking on a lot of the blame himself for not counteracting those things, in the sense that, like, if the offense struggles again and there's a bad passing performance, at some point you have to rationalize it as, well, not even the freshman quarterback who has less of an arm is going to fix this. This is on us to fix schematically and all those other kind of things, right? I think it would have to be real bad for him to get benched at any point for the remainder of the season. The chances to do it would have been after Michigan, from a logistical standpoint, after Michigan, after Illinois, before Michigan, or after Notre Dame. In other words, the 2 bye weeks. It wasn't going to happen after Illinois because he was great at that point, and there was no sign of any issues. His mistakes against Illinois were just mistakes that good teams make against good players. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there were no reason to do it. And then against Notre Dame, again, I think it's plenty of the same things. His mistakes against Notre Dame, I think, were more about Notre Dame's defense. He throws one interception that's bad, but also it's a rain game. How much of that factored into it? His worst pass was a pass that was caught. So, like, there were no reasons to do it. I think we've sailed on from the point of him ever getting benched this season.
Yeah, like I said, it would need to be the kind of thing where it was so catastrophic that he got pulled, Longstreet came in and Wally pipped him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a pretty extreme situation.
By the way, I think that's Lamont in the chat.
He did say it was Lamont. Iggy is Lamont. Yeah.
YouTube has done a thing where they keep changing people's names.
It's like they're now showing like your username instead of your handle. Or vice versa, whichever way it goes. But SJ Sanche is how I'm going to pronounce that.
Is that SJ in Santa Barbara?
Maybe, but I like SJ Sanche. What are the chances we win out and make the playoff? Funny you should ask, because ESPN has their playoff predictor, and I have just plugged in USC's.
Can I guess?
I would like you to guess what USC's highest rate of making the playoff is.
What do you mean by highest rate? Like record-wise, compared to a record?
No, in a world where USC doesn't win the Big Ten and automatically get into the playoff.
Right.
What is USC's highest percentage chance to make the playoff under any circumstances?
I don't know what those circumstances are, though. Because the only circumstances going is winning out.
Okay, well, tell me what.
There's no chance a 9-3 team in SC's sense gets in, because they will have lost a game in November. Even if they lose Friday and then beat Iowa and Oregon, I can't see them getting into the top 12, top 15. Sure. Top 12, it would be really hard. So they would have to win out. And I think if SC wins out, it's 100%. If they are 10-2, they are in. 10-2 with the win over Oregon, they are just in. My percentage points of like where I think that stands right now is like 6%. 6%. Mostly because I think SC has a 15% chance of winning the Oregon game. And if they win the Oregon game, I think there's very good chance that they will have done everything else.
USC currently has a 28% chance to beat Oregon. And if they don't beat Oregon, if let's say they beat Northwestern, they beat Iowa, and then they lose to Oregon, I don't know why they're not including the UCLA game in this, though, because that would certainly be a factor. But maybe it's only like the next 3 games. It says it's a 4% chance to make the playoff while losing to Oregon. If USC beats Oregon and then goes to the conference title game and loses, it's a 70% chance to get into the playoff. Okay,
so those are the stipulations there.
And if USC wins out and then doesn't go to the Big Ten title game, they have an 88% chance to make the playoff. Which brings me to a Discord message that came in during the show from Richard, who is our stats and information extraordinaire, said he was looking at the playoff picture and the permutations. The conference championship game, USC can only get in if Indiana wins out, if USC wins out, and then Michigan wins out and beats Ohio State. That would put USC with Indiana in that game.
Is that the only way to get the tiebreaker over Ohio State or Indiana?
A three-way tie between USC, Ohio State, and Michigan, and because head-to-head, USC beats Michigan, beats Ohio State.
Why isn't Ohio State still in that?
Because Ohio State loses to Michigan.
But then it's a 4-way one-loss tie.
Indiana, Ohio State, and Michigan would be tied.
And SC.
Sorry, no. USC, Ohio State, and Michigan would be tied for this second.
For the second spot, because Indiana's undefeated.
Because Indiana is the first spot undefeated. Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And I will say, that doesn't seem improbable.
It's not.
In the sense, hear me out. It's not going to happen. I will eat mustard on the show again if it happens. It's not going to happen. What I'm saying is, if the only bit of help that you need, besides things that you have control of, is Michigan beating Ohio State, that is a way more likely help to get than Ohio State losing to anybody else.
Yes.
Or Indiana losing to anybody else. Just because Michigan has Ohio State's number and won the last, 4 in a row or whatever? Like that's not impossible. However, I will say that SC's best scenario for getting the playoff period, 10-2, go 8-1 in the conference, don't have to play the conference championship game, and get in that way.
Yeah, I mean,
would that feel better to you?
What's annoying?
Let me ask you this. Let's just say 2 hypotheticals. A, SC goes 10-2, gets to the playoff. They are the 9 seed in the playoff. They have to go play on the road against, who do the 9 have to play against the?
In what context are they the 9?
You think they'd be higher?
Well, okay. So what I'll tell you is this is how ESPN sort of they're calculating it. If USC wins out and then goes to the conference title game and loses, they'd be the 7 seed.
Okay.
If USC wins out and doesn't make the conference title game, they'd be the 6th seed.
So they'd have a home game.
And then if they win the conference title game, they would be the 4th seed.
Either way, this is what my question is to you. This is a dumb hypothetical that means nothing. Take that for what it's worth. What would feel more satisfying? And again, there's not even a good answer to this. What would feel more satisfying? 10-2, make the playoff, lose in the first round, hard fought 27-24 to whoever, wherever that game is. Respectable, competitive loss, but you didn't advance. You lost, right? Or go to the Big Ten championship game, lose, and then either don't make the playoff or get blown out in the playoff, whatever it is. I don't know where I'm going with this.
My ideal would be to put up a good showing in the playoff under any circumstances.
I guess what I'm asking is, if you don't win the Big Ten title, which SC is not winning the Big Ten title, they're not beating Ohio State and they're not beating Indiana. I'm sorry, they're just not.
No.
If you're not winning those 2 games, as far as I'm concerned, I have no care about that game. I'd rather just SC not be in it.
I just, for me, this is less about like where USC is in and just what we see from USC. We talk about the eye test all the time. Like the scenario where USC goes to the Big Ten title game and puts up a fight against Indiana, even if they lose that and then go to the playoff and put a fight up against whoever they play, it's that they put up a fight against those teams that matters to me a hell of a lot more than anything else.
Oh, for sure.
For me, I
think there would be satisfaction.
Any scenario where USC puts up a fight against the opponents that they play is the one that I want to see, because I don't want to see USC go to the playoff and then get blown out, because that will just verify what my worries about this team in general are.
Yes.
So I think is funny, considering the way that we talk about this team, is that like they are literally one game away from being a playoff lock. If we say USC is favored by 2 touchdowns over Northwestern, USC will be favored significantly over Iowa, USC will be favored significantly over UCLA, they are one unexpected outcome away from being a playoff lock.
Yeah.
They are also miles from being a playoff team in my view.
Well,
this
is the weird thing. Let's talk about 2012. The season, the UB season, right? SC started that season 6-2. Ended 7-6. Started 6-2. They were 6-2 going into the Oregon game.
Well, I will compare it more to 2017. 2017, after USC loses to Notre Dame and gets their ass kicked.
Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is like November is such a determining factor for how we see a season.
Yes.
And 2017, a prime example, right? Going into November, everybody thought the season was effed. Everything was bad. They end up winning the conference anyways. 2006, everyone thought the season was gone. They end up having a no-loss November. They win the conference anyways. And so, like, 2018, SC goes, 5-7, right? Mm-hmm. 5-7 or 4-8? I never remember. It's 5-7. SC had controlled their own destiny in the freaking South Division
going into
until, like, the last 2 weeks of the year.
Yep.
Like, they lost all those games that were right there for the taking. And then they ended up 5-7. Like, was it Texas A&M last year? They started the season like 8-1, and they had all the tiebreakers in their favor to go to the SEC championship game, and they finished the season like 8-4 or whatever. Like, this is college football, and everything is really settled in November, and like it is wild that if you have a no-loss November, people will look on this season so freaking favorably.
Yes.
And if you have a November in which you go 2-2, people will look on this season as it is an utter failure. And like on one sense, it's nice that college football can be forgiving in that aspect, especially now in a 12-team playoff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's nice that college football can be forgiving in that sense. In the other aspect, it is terrifying in the sense of like, you look at it and you're like, well, look, all of it is right there for SC to do the thing. Like if they actually clean up their mistakes, if they actually dot their I's and cross their T's and do all the things that we know that they have potential to do, and then overcome the obstacles that they have potential to but haven't shown that they can, and they actually put everything together, this can be a playoff lock of a team. Is still a team that absolutely could have gone 8-4, and people would want Lincoln Riley fired. Like everything is possible right now. Everything's possible. They can go 7-5. Like everything is possible still. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is great and scary at the same time.
I mean, it's fun to go into November like with these possibilities, but
yeah. Joe in the chat, didn't last year show that all the bye teams lost the first round they played? I think they did, right? ASU lost. Boise State lost. Oregon lost.
While you're figuring that out, I just saw the clip from Josh Pate. Mm-hmm. He was on some podcast or some show or whatever, and they asked him, do you have any feeling on any of the job openings right now? And he did this whole like, and then mocked like he was pulling the pin of a grenade and lobbing it and says, let's just keep an eye on Lincoln Riley at USC.
In what sense?
Well, okay, here's Here's the sense.
In the sense of like,
in the sense
to
of,
me, that feels like it's not about him getting fired.
In the sense of like, I wonder if there was, I've seen like the rumor mill, the very, very unreliable rumor mill, like sort of throw out the possibility of Florida being interested. We know that LSU was interested. So like, if he wanted to leave, I think his opportunities are absolutely there.
Or if an NFL team came.
The
problem with the NFL thing is it would just be a month later.
Why would you come calling, though? Like, why would you come calling for Lincoln Riley as a head coach right now?
Yeah. In a lot of ways, I think the NFL makes more sense.
It makes so much sense because then his scheme can just be what it is. But then you have to question, like, would his scheme translate to, I don't know, Joe Barry's did, so.
Yeah, I do think that we need to start looking at every position, not just in the and not just Lincoln Riley, but like everybody in college football right now, given the jobs that are open and given the fallout of everything, there will be so much reverberation that we should not look at the binary of
college jobs
of kept on and fired. There are so many other possibilities. Not just for Lincoln Riley, but for everybody. Yeah. Kenny in the chat says, why would the NFL hire Cliff Kingsbury, the Cardinals? Yeah. The NFL is weird sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, we were asking the same question of why would you hire him as a head coach?
The reason I say this is I think from the NFL perspective, I'm not saying I agree with this, but I think that this thought exists, that Lincoln Riley's ability to draft up a game plan and draw up plays and all that stuff could be so appealing that you could be an NFL GM and say, I will be the one to bring him with a play caller and a defensive coordinator, and we will put that all together and maximize everybody's ability.
Yeah.
I understand the logic in that. I'm not saying that's a great logic, but I think that logic makes more sense in the NFL when the discrepancies between good and bad defenses are not nearly the same in college football, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want, it's not just parody, but like.
But it's also different. Like it's just different. They have more practice time. They have more control over their rosters. They have, there's the culture is
the
set
coaches
in
are
different
more
places.
CEO by default.
The coaches are more CEOs by default.
Yeah.
So, well, that's interesting. Not saying it means anything, but that's interesting.
Let's go back to the playoff thing. It is fascinating to think that, like, every year we hear about the Auburn doomsday scenario of, did you know that Auburn has this path that all they need to do is win all these games, and then they will be a 4-loss team that can win the SEC, and if they do, they'll have to be put in the playoff, right? Like, you hear this every other year, right, about some team. It's kind of neat that, like, not that SC is that team right now, but like that SC has scenarios that are not too different from that. And are not that far-fetched.
Iliam asks, would we be...
to me, beating Oregon is the most far-fetched of all those scenarios.
Yes, that is the most far-fetched of but we might be talking different if Oregon loses to Iowa.
Sure.
You know, like there's a lot of iterations of the future that we can sort of imagine.
Well, I tend to believe
if Oregon was coming to the Coliseum, I would be giving USC a puncher's chance. It's the Autzen of it all that sort of has me not even trying to think about that game.
For sure. There's like part of me here that is fully on board with the solid verbal thing of like the only teams that seem like they aren't flawed are Ohio State and Indiana. Everybody else, not only does everybody else like have a loss or all that kind of stuff, but like everybody else has a way where I can see them losing. And the only reason I can see Ohio State losing the game is because they just lose to Michigan lately. That's the only reason I think that Michigan could beat them, and that game is at the Big House. That's the only reason I think that Ohio State could actually lose. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even a great football reason, right? Oregon, I thought, would be one of those infallible teams, but they got thoroughly outplayed by Indiana. Miami has shown that they can just lose to teams that
They're
are
still Miami.
beneath them.
I don't trust Texas A&M as far as I could throw them.
Alabama and Georgia, on their day, are completely unbeatable. On the other days, are going to let any competitive team take them to the wire and potentially beat them. And, like...
Ole Miss is still Ole Miss. BYU is a big BYU and Texas Tech are Big 12, so I don't trust them in the end.
And so
Notre Dame, we know what Notre Dame is a 2-loss team for a reason. Oklahoma is a 2-loss team for a reason.
Yeah. I tend to think that that SC doesn't really have more than a 15% chance of going into Autzen. And a lot of that is based on just SC struggling on the road, and Oregon just obviously being really good. But like, if it was anybody, like let's say for instance, it was, who is a comparable team to SC in the Big Ten right now? Is it Iowa? Illinois.
Yeah,
Just say Illinois. Illinois is going into to Autzen. I could be convinced that there could be some weird reason that Illinois could win that game, strictly based off of stupid anecdotal memories of like, well, Oregon lost in Autzen in 2012 and 2011 and 2013 in November, and then they just got beat by Indiana. Like, like those kind of things. I feel like I would give more grace to a team like Illinois or whoever than SC, just because we watch SC every week. We see all of their warts, especially on the road. And so like that is partially clouding my 15% spot where like I believe the FPI thing that you said was like 25%.
Yeah, it was 28%.
Yeah, 28%. Like that's probably the realistic thing, but like I just look at SC on the road and it halves.
I have a question. If USC beat Oregon on the road, it would be the most shocking road win for USC since... Because to me, it would be way more shocking than the 2016 win over Washington. Because Washington...
I don't know that it is, though.
Washington always looked to me like a team like that era of Washington teams was not impervious, was not like I always felt like they were there for the taking.
But that whole 2016 thing was like, yeah, I don't know that SC actually is anything. They'd have to prove it against Washington. We're saying the same things we said then.
Yes. But we were talking about they have to prove it against Washington. Where right now I'm saying that like USC's losing to Oregon, guys. Like I'm not even considering it.
Yeah, but I would go back to so much of that is because we know that this team doesn't win those games on the road.
Yeah, that's my point. That would be the most shocking road win since...
I mean, that's probably is the case. I mean, since 2011? No, it'd probably be more shocking than that. I think it depends on what happens the next
by
2
2011, by the time USC played Oregon, like it felt like USC was on a roll. Like that
right, and they had to the wire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like they had momentum.
Yeah. And I do think that like our view of this will be much clearer 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, once we know what happens in these next
10 days from now.
Yeah.
Once
if
we
USC
know
blows out Iowa and puts up 45 points on Iowa, we will be talking.
And Iowa beats Oregon, like our thoughts will change much differently.
Yes.
Just like if SC loses Friday night, things will be much different there as well. Big up to Trent Trojan joining us on the Rot Squad. Big ups. Welcome. Make sure. Okay,
this is the part where I say Discord. We can't let this be a 2-hour episode, Michael.
Yeah, I know. It's 1:38 at this point. Yeah. Okay, last thing before we go. Alien 55 says, because in our hearts we don't think that they are very good. Like they, but honestly, that's why I wonder if we really care if Riley went to Florida, because in our hearts we don't know that they're very good. Like
I wouldn't care if he left for Florida. I'm ready. I'm ready to be free of the buyout and just start fresh.
If he left for another job, to me, in a lot of ways, that's the best case scenario.
That is a gift from God. Like
I
to not have to worry about the buyout, to no longer be saddled with the buyout in terms of how much you can spend on your next coach and your next staff. Like there's so many.
I don't know that Lincoln Riley needs to be fired tomorrow, right? But like, it's one of those things where like it would be nice to not have to worry about that being a conversation anymore, regardless of whatever your stance was. And on that case, that's why I think it's sort of a best case scenario. The worst case scenario is this coaching cycle is going to suck. So like, if that's the case, then you really better go out and get Lane Kiffin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and that's my thing is like this coaching cycle is going to suck, but at least if Riley left, then you could go, lob a grenade over at Lane Kiffin and say, hey, you wanna? And if he says no, then I think you take a chance on a coach that, on a G5.
I have a guy.
Who?
I don't want to say the guy.
I would look at Memphis's coach personally, but
you want me to say the guy? Jesse Minter.
Oh yeah, you've said the guy before. Yeah, Jesse. That's my point. Is like
Jesse
if USC takes a chance on a coordinator like that, and we just sort of start this cycle of let's see who's there. I'm ready for that to happen. Yeah. I don't know that this is the ideal moment for it to happen, but as I'm no longer caring about ideals. I'm just ready for the next phase with the GM and with this AD. And Lincoln would be doing USC a huge favor if he took the buyout out of the equation.
From just a
And it would be fascinating if the USC job opened up and we got to know Lane Kiffin's answer, because you and I have been talking for weeks about like, where does Lane feel? Like, what does Lane feel about USC?
Yeah, it's 0 or 100%.
Is it 0 or 100%? Yeah. Like, because it's nowhere. It's one or the other.
Okay, perfect comparison here. I want this to be a video game where you can save an alternate save.
Yes.
I want to see what happens. What happens in the sense of like, does anything come from the Lane stuff? What happens in the sense of like, what does the hiring process look like? How much is Chad Bowden involved? Is he the guy making the call?
He should be.
Is it Jen Cohen making the call? Is she just signing the checks? Is it like, I don't know, how are they both working together? Like, I'm very curious from just a sheer interest stuff. That would be fascinating. It would be fun to podcast about and all that kind of stuff. At the same time, this is a coaching carousel that unless you go out and actually get Lane Kiffin or like someone I mentioned, like Jesse Minter, or you do the thing the P is wanted. Like SC fans don't have a boner for John Gruden like everybody else. It's for John Harbaugh. And like you do the John Harbaugh thing or the that's the Steelers guy. Oh my God.
Mike Tomlin?
Like that's another one that you just randomly see on the P sometimes. Yeah. Like in the chances of any of those things I feel like are low, which is why I think you have to avoid this coaching carousel. But like it would just be interesting to see what would happen. Do I think that SC would be better off? That's a completely different story. And do I think that like I alternate save. I want an alternate save just to see what would happen with the ability to do takey-backies. So, yeah. All right. Let's wrap up there. Iliam says, yeah, we also have no president. Yeah, neither does LSU.
Mm-hmm. Well, if Riley left, the no president thing is not the issue. The no president thing is the issue when firing somebody and taking on a buyout. If Riley left and you just make your hire, you don't need to wait for the president.
Yeah. Unless it's a financial thing, which in which case our failed mayoral candidate, I guess, will have to decide. So, all right, let's wrap up there. We will be back with the watch along on Friday night. So, SC and Northwestern, click the link in the show notes. Make sure that you play over under. If you've joined the Rot crew and all that kind of stuff, Rot Squad, make sure that you connect your Discord and join us in the Discord. So all of that. Until then, we will see ya.
See ya.
See ya.